Take care of
Welcome back to
yourself.
the channel.
And
Today's
I'll see
story
you in
is
the
about
next
a
one.
husband who realizes he's become nothing more than a paycheck in his own home. It's a powerful reminder about self-respect, boundaries, and knowing when it's time to walk away. This story is inspired by real-life situations, but all names and details have been changed for privacy. Sit back, relax, and listen all the way through, because the lesson he learns at the end might be exactly what someone out there needs to hear. My wife once looked me in the eye and said, "You're an adult. Cook for yourself. I'm not running a restaurant." So I did. My name is Mark. I'm 33 years old, and I work as a field technician for a company that maintains heavy industrial equipment. Most days I'm out in warehouses, factories, and big facilities fixing machines that everyone depends on until they break down. My shifts regularly run 12 to 14 hours, depending on how bad things get. I'm married to Emma. She's 30. She has 2 kids from her previous marriage, Liam, who's 11, and Chloe, who's 8. When we first started dating about 5 years ago, it felt like everything in my life finally clicked into place. Back then, weekends meant cooking together. Emma loved trying new recipes she found online. I'd take over the grill outside and handle the meat, and the kids would turn setting the table into a little competition. Who could do it faster? Who could fold the napkins better? We'd sit down together, and it felt like time slowed down for a while. Liam would tell awful jokes that made absolutely no sense, and we'd all laugh anyway. Chloe would proudly show us her drawings from school. Emma and I would look at each other across the table with that quiet understanding that says, this is what family is supposed to feel like. It felt warm. It felt safe. It felt like the home I wanted growing up, but never really had. After we got married about 3 years ago, Emma decided to leave her office job and go freelance as a graphic designer. The idea was simple: more flexibility, more time at home with the kids, more presence in their everyday lives. I supported her without hesitation. I admired how much she wanted to be there for Liam and Chloe, school pickups, homework, after-school activities. My income was steady. Hers would be flexible. On paper, it made sense. But slowly, over time, the balance started to shift. I picked up more of the bills. First a little more, then a lot more. Before I really realized what was happening, I was covering almost everything. The mortgage, car payments, groceries, utilities, school supplies, sports fees, all of it was landing on my paycheck. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Once her freelance work picked up, once she landed a few consistent clients, once things stabilized, we'd rebalance. But months turned into a year. A year turned into 2. That balance never came. I didn't complain. In my head, that's what love looked like. You carry more when your partner needs you to. You step up. You don't sit there counting who paid for what. While I was busy not keeping score, life kept quietly keeping it for me. I started noticing small things first. Little changes that were easy to brush off if I wanted to. Dinner wasn't waiting when I got home anymore. Even on nights when I texted her my schedule, told her I'd be late, I'd walk in to find the kitchen dark or a couple of dirty dishes in the sink. The house wasn't a disaster, but it clearly wasn't being kept with any thought of, he's coming home exhausted. Let's make it feel welcoming. It was just whatever. Emma spent a lot of time on her laptop. I assumed most of it was work. But passing by, I'd see social media, group chats, random browsing, YouTube videos. The kids would be in front of the TV, zoned out while she scrolled. I'm not saying she did nothing. She still shuttled the kids around, handled school stuff, and worked on some design projects. But slowly and steadily, it felt like I had faded into the background. I was no longer a priority. I was convenient. The man who paid for everything and fixed things when they broke. Then came that Thursday in late summer. The day started with a phone call at 6 a.m. A facility about 2 hours away had a critical piece of equipment fail overnight. Production was at a standstill. They needed it fixed immediately. I threw on my work clothes, grabbed a coffee, and hit the road half awake. When I got there, the work area felt like a furnace. No air conditioning, just giant fans pushing hot air around. Outside, it was around 95 degrees, and inside it somehow felt even hotter. I spent the entire day in that heat, crawling under machines, tracing wiring, opening up electrical panels, replacing fried motors, troubleshooting every possible issue. Time blurred into this mix of noise, sweat, and metal. By the time I finally finished, it was close to 8 p.m. My shirt was soaked. My hands were covered in grease and dotted with small cuts. My legs felt like I'd been running all day. The only thing I'd eaten was a protein bar I'd found in my truck around noon. On the drive home, I was running on fumes, both physically and mentally. One thought kept me going: get home, take a shower, eat something real, and just breathe for a bit. I pulled into the driveway a little after 9. The house was quiet except for the TV murmuring from the living room. Liam and Chloe were already in their rooms, getting ready for bed or scrolling through their phones. Emma was on the couch, laptop open, blue glow washing over her face. I dropped my work bag by the door and walked straight to the kitchen. I was hoping for something, anything, that said, "I knew you were coming home late. I saved this for you." I opened the fridge. What I saw was random. Sandwich fixings, some yogurts, a couple of leftovers that looked like they'd been in there a bit too long. Nothing that looked like a meal someone had put aside with me in mind. I just stood there for a moment, staring into that cold light. The exhaustion I'd been carrying all day suddenly got heavier. I walked back into the living room and asked, "Hey, is there anything for dinner?" Emma didn't even look away from her screen. "We ate at 6, she said. "There's stuff in the fridge." I told her I'd just gotten home from a 14-hour day in brutal heat, that I was dead tired and was really hoping for something more than throwing together a sandwich from scraps. That's when she finally looked at me, and what I saw in her eyes wasn't concern. It wasn't apology. It was irritation, like I was an inconvenience. "You're an adult," she said, voice cold and flat. "Cook for yourself. I'm not running a restaurant." The words hit harder than any insult. I waited for the follow-up that never came. I waited for a softening, sorry, that came out harsh, or some sign that she actually cared how I felt in that moment. Nothing. She went right back to her laptop as if the exchange was over, as if I had asked a stupid question. So I went back to the kitchen. I took out some bread, grabbed the peanut butter and jelly, made myself a sandwich. I ate it standing at the counter, like some kid home alone. With every bite, I could feel something cracking inside. A belief I'd carried about what marriage and partnership were supposed to mean. My mind went back to my parents. My dad worked long days in construction his whole life. He'd come home covered in dust, sweat, and exhaustion. My mom always had dinner ready for him. Not because he demanded it, not because there was some rule that she had to. She did it because she cared. It was her way of saying, "I know what you've been through today. Let me take care of you." It wasn't about roles. It was about love and consideration. That's what I thought I had with Emma. That same kind of mutual care. But standing there in my own kitchen, eating a sad sandwich I made myself after a 14-hour shift, I realized how wrong I'd been. When was the last time she had really asked how my day went and listened? When was the last time she did something? Not because it needed doing, but because she knew it would make me feel appreciated. When was the last time I actually felt valued in my own home? I couldn't remember. And then a thought slipped in that I'd been trying not to face for a long time. Was I just a paycheck to her? Was I just the guy who worked himself into the ground so everyone else could live comfortably while I got whatever scraps of time and energy were left? I didn't come up with an answer that night, but I knew something fundamental had changed. I finished the sandwich, took a long shower, and lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Emma slept next to me like it was any other night. Meanwhile, her words kept replaying in my head. "You're an adult. Cook for yourself." She was right about one thing. I was an adult, and maybe it was time I started taking care of myself, for real. Because clearly, nobody else in that house was going to. I just didn't know yet what that was going to look like. The next morning, I woke up with a strange sense of clarity. It felt like my brain had spent the night putting all the pieces together and sliding a conclusion in front of me. I wasn't going to beg for attention. I wasn't going to argue or plead or try to explain my worth. I was going to do exactly what she told me to do. Take care of myself. If she wanted to treat me like a roommate who paid almost all the bills, then fine. I'd act like one. That Friday, I left for work before anyone woke up. On my way home, I stopped by the grocery store. But this time, I shopped with a different mindset. I bought food just for me. Things I knew I liked. Things nobody else normally touched. Good steaks. Fresh vegetables. The pricey coffee I always put back on the shelf because it felt like an unnecessary luxury. A few craft beers I'd been wanting to try. When I got home around 7 that evening, Emma and the kids had already eaten. I don't know what. She was on the couch with her laptop again. The routine was exactly the same, except I wasn't. I walked straight to the kitchen and started cooking. I seasoned a thick steak just how I like it. Got the cast iron pan blazing hot. Cooked it medium rare with a perfect crust. Roasted some asparagus with garlic. Threw a loaded baked potato in the oven. The smell filled the house. Liam wandered into the kitchen, nose in the air. "That smells really good," he said. "What are you making?" "Just dinner for myself," I said. "Nothing special." He looked confused, but he nodded. A minute later, Emma appeared in the doorway. "You made steak?" she asked. There was surprise in her voice, maybe a hint of something else. "Yeah," I replied, casual. I was hungry after work. She waited. I could feel it, the expectation that I'd offer her some, or divide the plate, or invite everyone to sit down. I didn't. I took my plate, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and walked to the small room I'd been using as my office. Closed the door behind me. Ate my dinner in peace. The next morning, Saturday, I got up early and made a full breakfast just for myself. Scrambled eggs with cheese, bacon, toast, fresh orange juice. The kind of breakfast I used to cook for everyone on weekends. By the time Emma came into the kitchen in her pajamas, I had already eaten and washed the pan. There was no food laid out, no plates waiting, no shared meal. "You made breakfast?" she asked. "For myself." I said, "Yeah, there's eggs and stuff in the fridge if you want to make some." She stared at me, processing. "You're not making any for us?" Now, there was an edge to her voice. I looked at her calmly and repeated her own words back to her. "You're an adult. Cook for yourself." Her face shifted from shock to anger to this forced blankness, like she refused to show it got to her. She grabbed a yogurt and walked out without answering. Later, the kids asked if I wanted to go with them to the community pool. I told them I had errands to run, which was true. I needed to go to the hardware store, but deep down, I was also sending a message. I wasn't automatically available anymore. Not when I'd been treated like I barely mattered. Sunday evening, Emma told me she was taking Liam and Chloe to see an animated movie they'd been wanting to watch. She didn't ask if I wanted to come. She just stated it. "Okay, have fun," I said. After they left, I texted my friend Jason and asked if he wanted to grab dinner and watch the game at a sports bar we used to go to before I was married. We ate wings, had a couple of beers, and talked about life, work, and random nonsense. For those 3 hours, my house, my marriage, my problems didn't exist. When I got back around 9:30, Emma was waiting for me in the living room, arms crossed. "You went out?" she asked, like I'd broken some rule. "Yeah," I said. "You guys went to the movies, so I met up with Jason." She raised her voice. "We didn't invite you because you never want to see kids' movies. I thought maybe we could all do something together as a family tonight." I looked at her. "You planned the movie without asking if I wanted to come," I said. "You didn't mention wanting to do anything together afterward. How was I supposed to know?" She didn't answer. She just turned and went to the bedroom. That was the start of the new pattern. Monday, I came home, cooked dinner for myself, ate alone. Tuesday, she made a nice dinner that included me, like she was trying to prove something. I ate it, but felt forced, like she was acting out the role of good wife instead of actually being one. Wednesday, I started doing my laundry separately, just my clothes. I left everything else in the hamper. Thursday, she asked me to pick up Liam from practice. I told her I had plans. I had finally scheduled a dentist appointment I'd been putting off for months. She had to rearrange her day to get him. That night, she was furious. "You never used to be like this," she snapped. "Like what?" I asked. "Like someone with boundaries?" "I used to think I was part of a team," I added. "Now I realize I'm just the guy who pays for everything and gets asked for favors." By Friday, the emotional stuff spilled into financial reality. I had started going through our joint bank account more closely. As I looked deeper into the last 6 months of statements, a clear pattern appeared. Hair salons, new clothes, luxury skincare, subscription boxes, takeout orders on nights I wasn't even home. All of it coming from the joint account, where my paycheck landed. Meanwhile, Emma's freelance income went straight into her personal account. I had no access to it. There were charges for the kids too, of course, clothes, school stuff, fees. I was fine with that. But there was nothing, absolutely nothing, that was ever spent on me unless I bought it myself. Not a birthday gift, not a surprise dinner, not even a small thing she knew I liked. I realized I was financing a lifestyle I wasn't really part of. The joint account was in reality my account that everyone else used. That weekend, I opened my own checking account. I went down to the bank and split my direct deposit. Starting the next week, just enough money would go into the joint account to cover basic living expenses, the mortgage, utilities, groceries. The rest would go into my personal account. When she asked why I'd been at the bank so long, I told her I was looking into some investment options. And I was just not the kind she thought. That Sunday, I spent most of the day in the garage, organizing tools and thinking. Liam came out and helped me, handing me screwdrivers and asking how different tools worked. We talked about school, sports, and random things. It was the most real, honest connection I'd had with anyone in that house for weeks. He didn't want money from me. He just wanted my time. Later, Chloe came out with a drawing of our family. In the picture, I was slightly off to the side. I don't think she did it knowingly. Kids just draw what they feel and see. I taped that drawing to my toolbox, and I felt this deep sadness sink in. Even the kids could sense I didn't really belong. That night, lying in bed with Emma far on her side of the mattress, I thought about what I really was in that house. I wasn't a husband. I wasn't a partner. Even as much as I care about Liam and Chloe, I wasn't truly treated like a parent. I was a provider, a financial engine keeping everything running, a background presence funding a life I was barely included in. Every interaction had become transactional. Every day was another round of what can you do for us, instead of how are you. Emma once said, "You never used to be like this," and she was right. I never used to have boundaries. I never used to ask where the money was going. I never used to expect basic care and consideration. I just kept giving, hoping it would eventually be noticed and appreciated. But people don't appreciate what they've been trained to take for granted. And I had trained her. I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. On Monday, during my lunch break, I called a family lawyer. A coworker had recommended him. We set up a meeting for Wednesday. When I sat down in his office, he didn't sugarcoat anything. He walked me through the realities, the length of the marriage, the finances, the kids. When I explained that Liam and Chloe were from her previous marriage and not biologically mine, he just nodded like this was a story he'd heard many times. He told me the house being in my name helped. My parents had given me the down payment as a gift, and I'd been paying the mortgage alone. Emma's freelance income going into a separate personal account, while mine funded the joint account, also worked in my favor. With under 5 years of marriage, no biological children together, and clear financial imbalance, he said I was in a strong position for a clean separation. I sat in my car afterward for about 20 minutes, just breathing. For the first time, leaving didn't feel impossible. The question wasn't, can I leave anymore? It was, do I want to stay? I decided I'd give it one last, honest conversation. That Saturday, I asked Emma if we could talk. Just us. No kids. She was defensive right away, but agreed. We sent Liam and Chloe to her mom's place and sat down at the kitchen table where we used to laugh and eat together. I told her everything. How it felt to work long, brutal days and come home to indifference. How I felt more like an ATM than a husband. How I was covering almost everything financially while her income was protected in a separate account. How invisible I felt unless something needed money or fixing. I spoke calmly. No shouting, just the truth. She listened, but her expression hardened. When I finished, she told me I was being overly sensitive, that she had a lot on her plate, that I chose my job, that the cook for yourself incident was blown out of proportion. I tried to explain that it wasn't about the food. It was about what it represented, the total lack of care. She rolled her eyes. In that moment, I understood that nothing I said was going to change how she saw me. Still, I asked her one question. What am I to you besides the money? She opened her mouth like she had an answer ready, and then paused. 10 seconds passed, then 20. The silence said more than anything. Finally, she said, "You're a good provider." The way she said it, like that should be enough for anyone, told me everything. Not a partner, not a friend, not a man she deeply respected or loved. A provider. I reached into my folder and placed the divorce papers on the table. Her face went pale. I told her I was going to file, that I couldn't stay in a marriage where I was only seen as a source of income. She started to cry, said we could fix it, that she could change, that she hadn't realized how bad it had gotten. I reminded her I'd been giving her chances for years, waiting, hoping she'd wake up and see me. If I have to force you to start valuing me, I said, it's not real. The next weeks were tense. I moved into the spare room. Emma bounced between trying to act like the perfect wife and exploding in anger. The kids could feel something was wrong, even if we didn't tell them everything. One night, Liam asked me if I was going to move out. I sat with both kids and told them, as simply as I could, that their mom and I had problems we couldn't fix by living together, that we were going to live separately, but it wasn't their fault. Chloe asked if they had done something wrong. I told her no. This was about the grown-ups, not them. I told them I cared about them and still wanted them in my life. Liam asked if they'd still get to see me. I promised they would. 2 months later, the divorce was finalized. It went quickly. There wasn't much to fight over. The house stayed with me. Emma moved out with the kids. The day before she left, she dressed up and told me she'd made reservations at the restaurant where we had our first date. She wanted one last shot at rekindling whatever was left. I looked at her and felt only fatigue. Whatever we had was gone long before the paperwork. I had just finally admitted it to myself. She moved out the next day. The house got very quiet. That was 6 months ago. Since then, my life has changed more than I expected. I got promoted to senior technician with more predictable hours. I started going to the gym again, seeing old friends, rebuilding a life that wasn't just about work and bills. Liam and Chloe come over every other weekend. We cook together, play games, watch movies. There's no tension now, just time and connection. Recently, Jason asked if I was ready to start dating again. I told him maybe, but I know this. When someone looks at you and says, take care of yourself, believe them. They've already stopped caring. I spent years hoping Emma would really see me. She never did. Not because she couldn't, but because she didn't want to. She wanted what I could provide, not who I was. Next time, if there is a next time, I'm going to look for something different. A partner, not a beneficiary. Someone who shows up when I'm exhausted, not just when the bills are due. Someone who values the person behind the paycheck. And if I don't see that reciprocity, if it's all take and no give, I won't wait years, slowly disappearing in my own home. I'll walk away early while I still recognize myself. That's the lesson I learned the hard way. At least I learned it. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. If this story hit close to home, remember, you deserve to be seen as more than just what you provide. Your time, your energy, and your heart have value. Let me know in the comments what you think about Mark's decision. Have you ever felt like this in a relationship? Share your thoughts and experiences below. Your story might help someone else. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more stories like this.